The Valari Empire had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. They had conquered 17 star systems. They had defeated hundreds of species. They had never known failure. Their warships were massive, their weapons were powerful, and their soldiers numbered in the millions. When they found a new world, they took it. That was simply how things worked. High Commander Torak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. He was tall, even for a Valari, with gray skin and 4 arms that ended in sharp claws. His eyes were black and cold, like deep space itself. He had led 50 conquests in his lifetime. He had never lost a single battle. Report, he said to his second-in-command. "We've completed our scan of the target world, High Commander." The planet is called Earth by its inhabitants. It is small, covered mostly in water. The dominant species calls themselves humans. Torak looked at the blue dot on his viewing screen. It was pretty, he thought. Many conquered worlds were pretty before his fleet arrived. What is their technology level? Primitive, High Commander. They have basic space travel. They have reached their moon and sent small machines to nearby planets. They have nuclear weapons, but nothing that could threaten our shields. They have satellites and communication networks. Standard pre-conquest civilization. Torak smiled. This would be easy. Another world to add to the Empire's collection. Another species to serve as slaves or soldiers. Send the standard message, he ordered. Give them 7 rotations to surrender. The message went out across space. It traveled at the speed of light toward the small blue planet. It carried simple words that the Valari had sent to countless worlds before: surrender or die. On Earth, Admiral Tae Woo-jin was the first to receive the alien transmission. He sat in his office at the United Earth Defense Command headquarters in Seoul when his communication officer burst through the door. "Sir, we have contact." Alien contact. They are real. Tae had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. He was 62 years old, with gray hair and a calm face that rarely showed emotion. He had commanded fleets, led training exercises, and built defense systems. All for a day that many people thought would never come. But Tae had always known it would come. Humanity had found the probe in 2089, crashed on an asteroid near Mars. It was alien technology, proof that other beings existed in the universe. The world's governments had kept it secret. They had studied it. They had learned from it. And they had prepared. "Show me the message," Tae said. The alien words appeared on his screen, translated by computers that had spent decades learning to decode extraterrestrial languages. The message was short and clear. Surrender your world. You have 7 rotations? Resistance means death. Tae read it 3 times. Then he picked up his phone and called President Hannah Park. Hannah was in a meeting when the call came. She was 55 years old, former fighter pilot who had risen through politics with the same determination she had shown in the cockpit. Her hair was black with streaks of white, and her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She had led Earth's united government for 6 years, always knowing that this moment might come during her term. "How many ships?" she asked Tae through the secure line. 300 warships, Madam President. 500,000 soldiers, based on our scans. They are currently positioned near Jupiter. We send our response. The one we have prepared for 80 years. Hannah closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her decision was made. Call the World Council. Emergency session. 1 hour. The World Council met in a secure bunker beneath the Swiss Alps. Leaders from every nation sat around. A massive circular table. On screens around the room, the alien fleet appeared as red dots near Jupiter. 300 dots. 300 instruments of death coming for their world. Defense Minister Sung Dae-ho spoke first. He was 70 years old, a veteran of 3 wars and countless negotiations. His hands were weathered, his voice was rough, but his mind was still sharp. "They expect us to surrender," he said. "Every species they have conquered before us surrendered. They do not know what we have built. They do not know what we are capable of." "And what are we capable of?" asked the representative from Brazil. "Can we actually defeat them? Or are we sending our people to die?" Dr. Yuna Kim answered. She was the lead scientist of the Global Defense Initiative, the secret program that had consumed trillions of dollars and the efforts of millions of people over 8 decades. She was 43, with tired eyes that had seen too many late nights, but her voice was confident. "We can defeat them," she said simply. "We have spent 80 years studying their technology and building our own. We have weapons they cannot imagine. We have defenses they cannot break. If they attack, they will lose." The room was silent. For 80 years, this program had been humanity's greatest secret. Most of the people in this room had only learned about it when they took office. Now they had to trust that it would work. President Hannah stood up. Every eye turned to her. "We did not ask for this," she said. "We did not seek out these aliens. We did not threaten them. We were living peacefully on our world when they came to take it from us. They gave us a choice, slavery or death. But we have a third option. We can fight. We can win. And we can show the universe that Earth is not a world of victims." She looked around the table. "I say we send them our answer. I say we tell them to leave or be destroyed. And if they ignore our warning, we show them what humanity can do." One by one, the leaders voted. The result was unanimous. Admiralty sent the response personally. It was short, just like the alien message had been. But its meaning was clear. "We decline your offer of surrender. We will not become your slaves. We will not give you our world. If you approach Earth, you will be destroyed. This is your only warning. Leave now, and you will live. Stay, and you will die." On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, High Commander Torak received the human response. He read it twice, then burst out laughing. His crew joined him. The sound of alien laughter filled the bridge. "They threaten us?" Torak said, still laughing. "These primitives threaten the Valari Empire? They have no idea what is coming for them." He turned to his navigation officer. "Set course for the third planet. Attack formation. We will show these humans what happens to species that refuse to kneel." The fleet began to move. 300 warships, carrying 500,000 soldiers, heading toward Earth. Heading toward what they thought would be, an easy conquest. They had no idea that humanity was waiting for them. They had no idea that Earth had teeth. They'd ignored the warning just as humans had expected them to. Now, they would learn the truth. The alien fleet moved through space like a swarm of metal insects. 300 warships, each one larger than any building on Earth. They passed Mars without slowing down. They passed the asteroid belt without concern. Their sensors scanned everything, looking for threats. Finding nothing that worried them, High Commander Torak watched the blue planet grow larger on his screen. His weapons officer reported that all plasma cannons were charged and ready. His ground forces commander reported that all soldiers were prepared for landing. Everything was going according to plan. "What defenses do they have?" Torak asked. "Very little, High Commander. We have detected some satellites with basic weapons, a few ships near their moon, some ground-based missile systems. Nothing that can penetrate our shields." Torak nodded. It was always the same. Primitive species always had some defenses, but they were never enough. The Valari had conquered hundreds of worlds, and no one had ever stopped them. Far below on Earth, Dr. Unikim sat in her control room beneath the mountains of South Korea, the Seoul Advanced Research Institute was officially a university laboratory. In truth, it was the heart of humanity's defense network. Hundreds of scientists and engineers worked in the underground facility, monitoring systems that spread across the entire solar system. Her assistant, Jin Hosun, looked up from his screen. He was young, only 30, but he was one of the brightest minds in the program. His hands were shaking slightly as he reported, "They have passed Mars. Current speed suggests they will reach Earth in 18 hours. Yuna nodded calmly. She had spent 20 years of her life preparing for this moment. She had studied the alien probe, learned its secrets, and helped build weapons that humanity had never imagined possible. Now it was time to see if all that work would save their world. "Contact Admiral Tay," she said. "Tell him we are ready to activate protocol, Shepard." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Tae Woo-jin stood in the heart of the Deep Command Center. It was a massive facility built into the ocean floor, hidden from any scanning technology the aliens might have. Around him, officers from 60 different nations worked at their stations. They spoke different languages, came from different cultures. But today, they worked as one. Lieutenant Bora Shin sat at the tactical station. She was 35, with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had been chosen for this position because she was the best tactical officer in the world. She had spent years training for this exact scenario. "Admiral," she said, "we are receiving the signal from Dr. Kim. Protocol Shepard is ready for activation." Tae looked at the main screen. The alien fleet was displayed as red dots, moving slowly toward the center where Earth sat. 18 hours until they arrived. 18 hours until humanity faced its greatest test. "Begin activation," he ordered. "Bring all systems online. But keep everything hidden until my command." Across the solar system, humanity's true power began to wake up. On the dark side of the moon, hidden in craters that never saw sunlight, massive weapon platforms hummed to life. They had been built in secret, piece by piece, over 50 years. Each one carried graviton projectors, weapons that could manipulate the very force that held matter together. The technology had come from the alien probe, but humans had improved it, made it stronger, made it deadlier, beneath the ice of Europa. One of Jupiter's moons, another installation activated. This one was a power station, collecting energy from Jupiter's massive magnetic field. It had been sending power to secret facilities across the solar system for decades. Now it increased its output to maximum inside hollowed-out asteroids in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. Fleets of human warships waited in darkness. They were small compared to the alien vessels, but they were fast and deadly. They had been built using knowledge from the probe, improved with human creativity. Each one could cross the solar system in hours, not days. On Earth itself, hundreds of smaller installations came online, hidden in mountains, buried under deserts, sunk beneath oceans. A network of defense systems that covered the entire planet. All connected, all ready. Lieutenant Era Kwan sat at her station on Lunar Base 7, one of the moon installations. She was 28, the youngest officer to ever command a graviton platform. She had been chosen because her reaction time was faster than anyone else's. When the moment came, she would need every fraction of a second. "All systems green," she reported through the secure network. "Platform 7 is ready." Similar reports came in from across the solar system. 12 lunar platforms. Ready? Europa Power Station, at full capacity. Asteroid Fleet, standing by. Earth's defense network active. Everything humanity had built over 80 years. All of it ready for one purpose, to protect their world. "Admiral." Tae listened to the reports and felt a strange calm settle over him. They had done everything they could. They had prepared as well as any species could prepare. Now it was simply a matter of waiting, Sir Lieutenant Bora said. "The alien fleet is scanning us. They are seeing our satellites, our visible installations, our surface defenses." "Good," Tae said. "Let them see what we want them to show. Let them think that is all we have." On the Eternal Dominion, High Commander Torak reviewed the scan results with growing confidence. The human defenses were exactly what he expected. A few thousand nuclear missiles, some basic energy weapons on satellites. A handful of ships that could barely leave their own orbit, nothing that could threaten 300 Valari warships. "They are not even evacuating their cities," his intelligence officer reported. "They seem to believe they can fight us." "Foolish creatures," Torak said. "They have no idea what real power looks like. They will learn soon enough." He gave the order to continue at full speed. The fleet pushed forward, eating up the distance between Jupiter and Earth. 16 hours. 12 hours. 8 hours. The blue planet grew larger and larger on their screens. In the deep command center, Admiral Tae watched the enemy approach. His officers were tense but focused. They had trained for this. They were ready. "They will reach lunar orbit in 4 hours," Bora reported. Standard attack position for orbital bombardment. Ah. Tay nodded. That is where we will hit them. When they stop to form their attack formation, they will be perfect targets. He opened a channel to all installations across the solar system. Thousands of men and women, waiting at their posts, ready to defend their home. This is Admiral Tay. The enemy is approaching. They think we are weak. They think we are primitive. They think this will be easy. They are wrong. For 80 years, we have prepared for this day. For 80 years, every nation on Earth has worked together for one purpose. Today, we show the universe what humanity can do. Today, we protect our world. Today, we win. He closed the channel and looked at the main screen. The red dots were getting closer. The moment was almost here. Send our final message, he ordered. Tell them this is their last chance to turn around. The message went out across space. It reached the Valari fleet in seconds. 3 words, simple and clear. You were warned. High Commander Torak received the message and smiled. He did not bother to respond. In a few hours, the humans would be dead or enslaved. Their warnings meant nothing. He had no idea that humanity was not warning him out of hope. They were warning him because it was the right thing to do. They were giving him one last chance to survive. A chance he was too arrogant to take. The fleet entered lunar orbit and began to form attack position. 300 warships spread out in a perfect pattern, their weapons pointing down at the blue planet below. 500,000 soldiers prepared for landing. Plasma cannons began their charging sequence. The moment had arrived. High Commander Torak stood at the center of his bridge, watching the blue planet below. Earth looked peaceful from orbit. White clouds drifted over blue oceans. Green and brown continents spread across the surface. Cities glittered with lights on the night side. It was beautiful, he thought. Soon, it would belong to the Valari Empire. All ships are in position, High Commander, his weapons officer reported. Plasma cannons fully charged. We await your command to begin orbital bombardment. Torak looked at his tactical display. 300 red dots formed a perfect sphere around the planet. Each dot was a warship carrying weapons that could turn cities to ash. The humans had nowhere to run. They had nowhere to hide. This conquest was already over. Target their largest cities first, Torak ordered. We will kill millions in the first strike. That will break their spirit. Then we will demand their surrender again. Those who kneel will live as slaves. Those who resist will die. His weapons officer nodded and began entering the targeting coordinates. New York, Tokyo, London, Beijing, Moscow, Seoul. One by one, the great cities of Earth were marked for destruction. Firing sequence ready, High Commander. On your order, Torak smiled and opened his mouth to give the command that would end human civilization. He never spoke the words. Deep. Admiral Tae Woo-jin watched the enemy fleet settle into position. His heart was beating fast, but his voice was steady. Lieutenant Bora. Status of enemy weapons. They are charging their main cannons, Admiral. They will be ready to fire in approximately 30 seconds. 30 seconds. That was all the time Earth had. But that was more than enough. All stations, Tay said into the global network. Fire on my mark. Across the solar system, fingers hovered over buttons. Eyes watched screens. Hearts pounded in chests. Humanity held its breath. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Lieutenant Araquan was the first to fire. Her hands moved faster than thought. Pressing the activation sequence for Lunar Platform 7, a beam of concentrated gravitons shot out from the dark side of the moon. Invisible to the naked eye, but carrying more destructive force than 1,000. Nuclear bombs. The beam struck the Eternal Dominion, High Commander Torak's flagship. The effects were immediate and horrifying. The graviton beam did not explode against the ship's shields. It passed through them like they were not there. Shields were designed to stop energy and matter. They could not stop gravity itself. Inside the ship, gravity suddenly increased 1,000 times, then 10,000 times, then 1,000,000 times. The ship began to collapse in on itself. Metal bent and twisted. Walls crushed together. Everything and everyone inside was compressed. Squeezed by forces no material could resist, Torak had exactly 1 second to understand what was happening. 1 second to realize that the humans had not been bluffing. 1 second to know that he had made the worst mistake of his life. Then the gravity crushed him into nothing, along with his ship, his crew, and everything he had ever known. All across lunar orbit, the same thing happened to every Volari ship. 12 graviton platforms on the moon fired simultaneously. Hidden weapons in the asteroid belt added their power. Satellites that the aliens had dismissed as primitive revealed their true purpose. Beams of gravitational force struck every ship in the fleet. The massive warships, each 1 kilometer long, began to collapse. They did not explode. They did not burn. They simply folded in on themselves, crushed by their own weight, multiplied 1,000,000 times over. The process was fast. Horribly fast. Ships that had taken decades to build were destroyed in seconds. 500,000 soldiers, who had expected an easy conquest, died before they could even scream. 300 warships became 300 tiny spheres of compressed matter, each one no larger than a human fist. Lieutenant Ara watched through her screen as the destruction unfolded. She had trained for this moment for years. She had known what the weapons would do, but seeing it happen was something else entirely. The sheer power of it, the complete destruction. It made her feel sick and proud at the same time. Platform 7, all targets destroyed, she reported, her voice not quite steady. Similar reports came in from across the network. Platform 1, targets destroyed. Platform 2, targets destroyed. Asteroid Station Alpha, targets destroyed. Every station, every weapon, every human who had fired, all reporting the same thing. The Volari fleet was gone. In the deep command center, Admiral Tay stared at the main screen. Where 300 red dots had been, there was nothing. The entire engagement, from first shot to last, had taken 14 seconds. Confirmed destruction, Lieutenant Bora said, her voice filled with disbelief. All hostile vessels eliminated. Enemy fleet completely destroyed. The command center was silent. No one cheered. No one celebrated. They had just killed 500,000 living beings. Yes, those beings had come to conquer and enslave. Yes, they would have killed millions of humans without mercy. But still, the weight of what they had done hung heavy in the air. Tay was the first to speak. Begin recovery operations. I want every piece of debris collected and studied, and find me a survivor. There must be someone who stayed behind, a scout ship, a supply vessel, something. We need to send a message back to their empire. In Seoul, Dr. Yuna Kim sat back in her chair and let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. Her assistant, Jin Ho-sung, was staring at his screen with wide eyes. It worked, he whispered. It actually worked. Did you think it would not? Yuna asked. But believing and seeing are different things. Yuna nodded. She understood. They had spent decades building these weapons, testing them on asteroids, running simulations over and over. But theory and practice were not the same thing. Today, practice had proven the theory correct. The real work starts now, she said. The Volari Empire will not take this quietly. They will send more ships. Bigger fleets. We need to be ready, Jin nodded, already turning back to his work. There was no time for celebration. There was only time for preparation. On Earth, people looked up at the sky and saw nothing different. The moon still hung in the darkness. The stars still twinkled. They did not know that a battle had just been fought and won in the space above their heads. They did not know that humanity had just announced itself to the universe in the most dramatic way possible. In governments around the world, leaders watched the classified footage with pale faces. They saw the alien fleet arrive. They saw it form attack position. They saw it vanish in 14 seconds. Some of them cried. Some of them laughed. Most simply sat in stunned silence, trying to understand what it meant. Humanity had won its first battle against the stars. But everyone who knew the truth understood that this was only the beginning. The Volari Empire would respond. Other empires might respond too. The universe had just learned that Earth was not a weak and primitive world. It was a world with teeth, a world that could defend itself, and now they would all want to know, what else could humanity do? Admiral Tay stood in his command center, looking at the empty space where the enemy fleet had been. He did not feel like a hero. He felt tired and sad and worried about what would come next. But he also felt something else, something that surprised him. He felt hope. Humanity had faced its first test and passed. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Whatever enemies the universe sent, they would fight them. Not because they wanted war, not because they enjoyed killing, but because some things were worth protecting. Earth was worth protecting. Humanity was worth protecting. And today, they had proven they could do it. The battle was over. The war for Earth's future was just beginning. Beyond the orbit of Neptune, in the cold darkness at the edge of the solar system, a small Volari shuttle waited in silence. Its pilot, navigator Ven, was following standard procedure for conquest missions. One shuttle always stayed behind, far from any danger, ready to record the victory and carry the news home. Ven was young for a Volari officer, only 40 years old. This was his first conquest mission, and he had been disappointed when he was assigned to stay behind. He wanted to see the battle. He wanted to watch the primitive humans kneel before the might of the Empire. Instead, he had to wait here in the darkness. Watching dots move on a screen, the fleet reached the target planet and formed attack formation. Ven watched with growing excitement. Soon, the bombardment would begin. Soon, another world would fall to the Volari. Then his screen went blank. Not blank exactly. The planet was still there, a tiny blue dot at this distance. But the fleet was gone. All 300 warships had simply disappeared from his sensors. One moment they were there, arranged in perfect formation. The next moment they were not. Ven stared at his screen for a long time. He ran diagnostic tests. He adjusted his sensors. He checked for errors in the system. There were no errors. The fleet was simply gone. No, he whispered to himself. That is not possible. He tried to contact the flagship. No response. He tried to contact any ship in the fleet. No response. He tried to pick up any signal at all from the area around the blue planet. There was nothing. For the first time in his life, Ven felt true fear. 500,000 of his people had been in that fleet. High Commander Torak, the greatest warrior the Empire had ever known, had been leading them. And now they were all gone. Destroyed by a species that was supposed to be primitive and weak, Ven's hands shook as he began the startup sequence for his shuttle's main engines. He had to get home. He had to warn the Empire. He had to tell them what had happened. Before he could finish the sequence, a ship appeared beside him. It came out of nowhere, crossing the vast distance from Earth in minutes. It was small, barely larger than his own shuttle, but its sudden appearance was impossible. No ship could travel that fast. No technology the Volari knew of could do what this ship had just done. A communication request appeared on his screen. Ven was too afraid to reject it. A human face appeared before him. It was a female, with dark hair and calm eyes. She wore a military uniform with symbols Ven did not recognize. When she spoke, her words were translated by some kind of advanced system, coming through in perfect Volari language. "Navigator Ven," she said. "I am Colonel Han Nari of Earth's 1st Contact Division. Please remain calm. We are not going to hurt you." Ven could barely speak. "How do you know my name? How did you find me? We have been tracking your shuttle since it entered our system 3 weeks ago. We know the Volari always leave a recorder ship behind. We were counting on it, actually. We need someone to carry a message home." "What happened to the fleet?" Ven demanded, his fear briefly overcome by anger. "What did you do to them?" The human's expression did not change. "They ignored our warning. They came to attack our world. So we destroyed them. All of them. In 14 of our seconds. That is impossible. You are primitives. Your technology is 1,000 years behind ours. That is what your empire believed. That is why they sent only 300 ships. They thought it would be easy. Colonel Han paused. They were wrong. She sent a data file to his shuttle, then opened it automatically, too shocked to think about security. The file contained a recording from the battle. He watched the fleet form attack position. He watched beams of invisible force strike every ship simultaneously. He watched 300 warships collapse in on themselves, crushed by gravity into tiny balls of matter. The recording lasted 14 seconds. Ven felt sick. He had known many people on those ships. Friends, teachers, family members. They were all dead. They had been killed by a species that was not supposed to be able to fight back. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "'Cause we want you to take it home," Colonel Han said. "We want the Valari Empire to see what happened here. We want them to understand what they are dealing with. And we want to send them a message." She transmitted another file. This one contained words, written in Valari language. Ven read the message slowly, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. The people of Earth have no desire for war. We do not seek conquest. We do not wish to rule others. We were living peacefully on our world when your fleet came to enslave us. We gave you a warning. We asked you to leave. You ignored us. This was your choice. The fleet you sent is gone. Every being aboard is dead. This was the consequence of ignoring our warning. We are sending this message through your navigator because we want you to understand something important. We could have destroyed your scout ship as easily as we destroyed your fleet. We could hunt down every Valari ship in the galaxy if we chose to. But we are not conquerors. We are not murderers. We defend ourselves, nothing more. Do not send another fleet to Earth. Do not contact us again, unless you come in peace. If you attack us again, we will respond with the same force. And next time, we will not stop at defense. We will come for you. This is not a threat. This is a promise. There will be no second chance. Ven finished reading and looked back at the human on his screen. Her eyes were steady, without anger or cruelty. She was simply delivering a message, a warning. The same kind of warning Earth had sent before, which the Empire had ignored. You would really attack the Empire? Ven asked. You would bring war to our worlds. We do not want to, Colonel Han said. We want peace. We want to live on our world and explore the universe in our own time. But if your Empire forces us to fight, we will fight. And we will win. Make sure your leaders understand that. They will not believe it, Ven said. They will think this is a trick. They will send more ships, and more ships will die. But we hope they will be smarter than High Commander Torak. We hope they will listen to the warning this time. We have no hatred for the Valari people. We do not want to kill anyone. But we will do whatever is necessary to protect our world. She paused, and for a moment her calm expression softened slightly.
How to go home, Navigator Ven. Tell your people what you saw.
Tell them we are not their enemies, unless they choose to make us their enemies. Tell them Earth wants peace, but also tell them that Earth is ready for war. The communication ended. The human ship did not attack. It did not try to capture him. It simply turned and vanished back toward the blue planet, moving at speeds that should have been impossible. Ven sat in his shuttle for a long time, staring at the empty space where the human ship had been. He thought about the recording he had just watched. He thought about 500,000 dead soldiers. He thought about the message he was supposed to deliver. Then he started his engines and set course for home. It would take weeks to reach Valari's space. Weeks of traveling through the darkness, carrying the worst news the Empire had ever received. Weeks of thinking about the humans and their impossible weapons and their terrifying speed. But as he flew, Ven found himself hoping that the Empire would listen. He found himself hoping that his leaders would be wise enough to accept peace instead of choosing more war. Because if they did not, if they sent more fleets to Earth, Ven knew what would happen. The humans would destroy them too, and maybe. Eventually, they would do what they had promised. They would stop defending. They would start attacking. They would bring their terrible weapons to Valari worlds. Ven did not want to see that day. He hoped no one ever would, but deep in his heart, he knew that the choice was not his to make. It was up to the Empire now. Peace or war? Survival or destruction? He hoped they would choose wisely. 6 months passed after the battle. Life on Earth returned to normal for most people. They went to work. They raised their families. They lived their lives without knowing how close they had come to extinction. The governments of the world had decided to keep the truth hidden, at least for now. The people were not ready to know that aliens existed, that an invasion had been stopped, that the universe was watching. But for those who knew the truth, nothing was normal anymore. Admiral Tae Woo-jin spent most of his time in the Deep Command Center, building and planning and preparing. The graviton weapons had worked perfectly, but he knew they could not rely on the same trick twice. If the Valari came back, they would come with knowledge of what had destroyed their first fleet. They would come with countermeasures. Humanity needed new weapons, new defenses, new strategies. Dr. Unikim hardly left her laboratory. She and her team worked around the clock, studying the compressed remains of the Valari ships, learning everything they could about alien technology. Every piece of knowledge might save lives in the future. Every discovery might give humanity another advantage. Lieutenant Boris Shin was promoted to commander and given her own ship, one of the new fast attack vessels that could cross the solar system in hours. She spent her days training crews and running exercises, preparing for battles she hoped would never come. Lieutenant Era Kwan stayed at her post on the moon, watching the stars and waiting. She had fired the first shot in humanity's first interstellar battle. She hoped she would never have to fire another. But if she did, she would be ready. Colonel Hyan Nari was assigned to lead the First Contact Division, a new organization created to prepare for future meetings with alien species. She spent her time studying Valari language and culture, trying to understand the beings who had tried to enslave humanity. Understanding the enemy was the first step to making peace with them. And in the quiet moments, when the work was done and the screens were dark, they all wondered the same thing. What would the Valari do next? The answer came 6 months after the battle, in the form of a transmission from deep space. Admiral Tae was the first to receive it. He sat in his office, reading the translated words with a mixture of relief and caution. The transmission was from the Valari High Council, the ruling body of their empire. It was short and formal, written in the cold language of official documents, but its meaning was clear. The Valar Empire has received the message from the beings of the planet called Earth. We have reviewed the recording of the engagement. We have analyzed the technology used against our fleet. We have decided that further military action against Earth is not advisable at this time. The planet Earth is hereby designated as a forbidden zone. No Valari ship will enter the system. No Valari citizen will attempt contact with the human species. Any violation of this order will be punished by death. The beings of Earth are warned that this decision may be reviewed in the future. The Valari Empire does not forget defeats. We do not forgive those who kill our people. But for now, there will be peace between our species. This is the word of the High Council. It is final. Tae read the message 3 times. Then he called President Hannah Park. 3 days later, Hannah addressed the world. It was the most watched broadcast in human history. Every screen on every continent showed her face. Every ear listened to her words. She had decided that the time for secrets was over. Humanity needed to know the truth. My fellow humans, she began, I have news that will change everything you believe about our place in the universe. 6 months ago, an alien fleet entered our solar system. They came from an empire called the Valar, which has conquered 17 star systems and enslaved hundreds of species. They came to do the same to us. She paused, letting the words sink in. They gave us a choice, surrender or die. We chose neither. We fought back, and we won. On screens around the world, the recording of the battle played. People watched in stunned silence as 300 alien warships collapsed and died. 14 seconds of destruction that had saved their world. I know this is difficult to accept, Hannah continued. I know many of you are afraid. You should be. The universe is vast and dangerous. There are beings out there who see us as nothing more than resources to be exploited. The Valari were not the first to discover Earth, and they will not be the last to consider attacking us. But I also want you to know something else. Something important. We are not helpless. We are not primitive. For 80 years, the nations of Earth have worked together in secret to prepare for this day. We have built weapons and defenses that can protect our world against any threat. We proved that 6 months ago. We will prove it again if we must. She looked directly into the camera, her eyes fierce and determined. Today I received a message from the Valari Empire. They have declared Earth a forbidden zone. They have warned their entire species never to come here again. They have also sent a warning to every other empire and civilization they know of. They told them about us. They told them what we did to their fleet. They told them to stay away. A small smile crossed her face. They call us the sleeping predators. They say we appear peaceful and harmless until we are threatened. They say we turned their greatest fleet into dust and then showed them mercy they did not deserve. They are not entirely wrong. We are peaceful. We do prefer friendship to war. But we learned long ago that peace must be defended, that the gentle must be strong, that hope must be protected with fire. This is what makes us human. This is what makes us survivors. In Seoul, Jin Hosun watched the broadcast with his colleagues at the Research Institute. The room was silent, everyone listening to the president's words. "Do you think it's really over?" he asked Dr. Yuna. She shook her head slowly. "It's never over. The Valari will not forget what we did. Other empires will be curious about us now. Some will want to be friends. Some will want to test us. The universe knows we exist now. That changes everything. Are we ready?" Yuna thought about the 80 years of preparation that had saved Earth. She thought about the new projects already underway, the new weapons being designed, the new ships being built. She thought about the brilliant young minds joining the program every day, eager to help protect their world. "We're getting ready," she said. "That's all we can do. Get ready and keep getting ready forever." On the moon, Araquan stood at the window of her base and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations were learning about humanity for the first time. They were hearing stories about the small blue planet that had destroyed an empire's fleet in 14 seconds. They were wondering what else humanity could do. Some of them, Ara knew, would try to find out. Some would come in peace, curious and friendly. Some would come in war, hungry and violent. And some would simply watch from a distance, waiting to see what these strange new beings called humans would do next. Whatever came, Ara would be watching too, ready to defend, ready to fight, ready to protect the world she loved. President Hannah finished her speech with words that would be remembered for generations. "Let this be our message to the stars," she said. "Earth welcomes friends. Earth protects the innocent, and Earth destroys those who come to harm us. We are humanity. We are awake now, and we will never be conquered." She paused one last time. "We do not know what the future holds. We do not know what challenges we will face. But we know this. We will face them together. All of us. Every nation. Every people. Every human being on this planet. We are one species. We are one family. And together we are stronger than any enemy the universe can send against us." Today, a new chapter in human history begins. Today, we take our place among the stars. Not as prey. Not as victims. Not as servants of some alien empire. But as equals. As defenders of our own world. As masters of our own fate. We are humanity. Remember that. The universe certainly will. The broadcast ended. Around the world, people sat in silence, trying to understand everything they had just learned. Some were afraid. Some were excited. Some were angry that the truth had been hidden for so long, but most of them, deep in their hearts, felt something unexpected. They felt proud to be human. Proud to belong to a species that could stand against the darkness. Proud to live on a world that had looked at an alien armada and said, "Not here, not today, not ever." Above Earth, the hidden fleet continued its silent watch. Scientists kept working on new defenses. Soldiers kept training for battles that might never come. Leaders kept planning for a future no one could predict. And in the vast darkness between stars, The word spread from world to world, from empire to empire. From one end of the galaxy to the other, there is a world called Earth. There is a species called humanity. They look weak, but they are not. They seem peaceful, but they are deadly. They were attacked. They destroyed their attackers in seconds. Do not go to Earth. Do not threaten Earth. Do not give the humans. It's a reason to come for you. Because if you do, you will learn what the Valari learned. Warnings exist for a reason. And humanity does not give second chances.